But now we're going to talk about actually publishing your music, okay, and getting it out there. So let's go ahead and talk about this. What is music publishing? Music publishing is the business of songs. It means to make your music available for commercial sale to the public. That means licensing your songs, plugging your songs, collecting the generated incomes, policing it against anybody that might be infringing your rights, etc. It has to do with all of that stuff, okay? But interestingly enough, in the publishing world, your songs are divided into two separate and equal shares, okay? Writer share and publisher share. So when you compose a composition, when I create an original idea from my head, melody and lyrics, a hook, beat, tangible groove, etc., a copyright is essentially born, the song, right? Now that song in the publishing world is divided into two separate and equal shares, the writer share and a publisher share, okay? Now, this is very, very important because those two parts are still me, right? So you might think, I know I'm the writer, right? I wrote the song, but who the hell is the publisher, right? It's you. So the writer part is the creative part of you. The publisher's share is the business side of you, but it's still all you, okay? So the writer is the person that thinks up the ideas, creates them, right? And the publisher is the one that does the business. For example, licensing the music, copyright registering the songs, collecting all of the generated income, policing the songs in case infringement, right? That is all done by the publisher. But you are both the writer and the publisher until you decide to give up your music publishing rights to an established music publisher that could do it better than you, right? Now, you might ask, why would I do that? I want to keep all the dough. I don't want to split it with anybody. And that's a really, really good question. And I would probably say because it takes a lot of time to do this correctly, especially when you're dealing with international rights. It's very, very confusing. So, a music publisher that's more established than you will be able to do it better than you. They'll also have more contacts, and they'll also have more connections with songwriters. They'll also have more connections with, other places to publish your music in film and television and video games. So it actually can serve as an opportunity for you to work with established music publisher, right? Here's the catch. Established music publishers probably don't want to work with you until you've done some of the work on your own and you've established some of the work on your own first and foremost. Okay? So what I'm about to do now is I'm about to talk a little bit about the scenario, potentially if you were to do this yourself, right? And we're going to talk about the types of money that you're going to make. Okay? So first of all, I want to say hi to AJ Kumar and somebody by the name of Exalted IKO, and also Daniela. How's it going? We're talking about music publishing here, and I'm talking about the types of income that you can make. And what I'm going to talk about really just today, really fast, is I'm going to talk about mechanical royalties and performance royalties, okay? So there are what's called 4 food groups of music publishing. There's mechanical royalties, performance royalties, synchronization royalties, and print royalties. These are the only types of money that you can make from music publishing. Okay, now when these monies are used in different sources, so like when they're used online, then we typically refer to all of that as electronic transmissions. And when all of that money is dealt with overseas, we call it foreign sub-publishing. Okay, so with all the confusion that exists on the internet about like how you get paid and, streaming and non-interactive and interactive and Spotify and this and that, it all comes down in music publishing, you guys, to 4 food groups of music publishing: mechanical, performance, sync, and print, right? And then when those are used online, electronic transmissions, and when it's used overseas, foreign sub-publishing. This is all you have to be worried about, right? This is all the money that you have to be worried about. So let's actually start defining them real quick. So let's start off with mechanical royalties. I'm going to start off with what I call traditional mechanical royalties, okay? And you'll see why in a minute. So first of all, traditional mechanical royalties. What the hell is a mechanical royalty? A mechanical royalty is a licensing fee that the record companies, which could be you, or anyone reproducing your music, copying it, has to pay you for the use of your songs on record. Okay? So essentially what I'm going to talk about right here real quick is CDs and vinyl recordings. Okay, now you might ask, why are we talking about the royalties I can get from CDs and vinyl recordings? Because their popularity is kind of diminishing. But 17% of the market share still goes to vinyl. So or physical, I should say. So we can't just exclude it from the conversation. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about the history of a mechanical royalty. So first of all, why is it called a mechanical royalty? That's such a weird word, mechanical royalty. And it really dates back to when music was copied or reproduced on piano rolls, like the ones that you see playing in the westerns where the piano was playing by itself, right? So they called that sort of that copying a mechanical sort of reproduction, and you were entitled to royalties for that. Of course, over the years, there's no more piano rolls really, right? But the name has stuck. Now, from a marketing perspective, I would change that name because it's just I would call it a reproduction royalty. I mean, that's so much easier, but it's stuck. So we just kind of have to get used to it. Okay. Now, the history of the mechanical royalty, dating way back before 1976, the rate that you got was 2 cents per song made and distributed. In 1978, that rate went up, and it started to rise incrementally over the years until in 2006, it stopped at 9.1 cents per record made and distributed, is what you guys were entitled to when people copy your song on record, such as a record company, which could be you or other, okay? It stayed at 9.1 cents all the way until the year 2003. In 2003, it went up to 12 cents, and then it's been rising every year as part of matching what's called the Consumer Price Index. So it was making a cost of living adjustment every year. So it went up to 2.4 cents in 2024, and now it's at it went up to 12.4 cents in 2024, and now it's at 12.7 cents in 2025. You guys might think 12.25 cents for every time one of my songs are copied on record and made and distributed. You're like going, wow, you know how many streams it takes me on Spotify to get 12 cents? That's great, right? Well, yes, but people don't buy vinyl as much anymore, right? And something else you got to know about. Okay, here we go. If you are your own record company and you're making vinyl records or CDs, you're not going to pay yourself a licensing fee for using your own song, right? So in that case, there is no mechanical royalty. Whatever money comes in is yours, okay? Number two, if you do get a record deal with an independent label or with a major label, there's a contract term in there that's going to change that rate. It's called the Controlled Composition Clause, also known as a CC clause, right? And it's notorious in recording contracts, and most people sign it because historically everyone just signs it. But what it does is it limits the royalties that the record company has to pay you for that mechanical royalty. So there's a couple different clauses that you need to know about. The first one is there's the statutory mechanical rate is for songs 5 minutes or less. But there's a higher rate, and we know it's 12.7, right? The rate for songs above 5 minutes, or a fraction thereof, is actually 2.45 cents. So if a song is 5.5 minutes long, you round up to 6 and multiply it by 2.45. And that's going to give you even a higher rate than 12.7. But the controlled composition clauses and the record companies say, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to agree only to the 5 minute or less rate. Even if your songs are 8 minutes, 10 minutes, we don't care. Okay? So the good news is you guys aren't writing songs over 3 minutes, right? I mean, most songs today are under 3 minutes. But anyway, it's just the record company trying to do sneaky stuff, right? The other thing that they do is they say, we are going to pay you what's called the controlled rate. That basically means the rate of 12.7, we are going to only agree to paying you 3/4 of that. So you have to multiply that by 0.75, okay? And let's see what that math comes out to. So that rate is going to be somewhere like 9.5 cents, right? Let me just check real quick. Yeah, 9.5 cents. The other thing that they do is they say, we're supposed to pay you for every single song made and distributed on the record, but we're only going to pay you for a cap of 10 songs. So on an extended play on an EP, we're only going to pay you for 10 songs, right? And I beg your pardon, on an EP, we're only going to pay you for 5 songs, and on a single, we're only going to pay you for 2 songs. Okay, so again, for the cap for a longer traditional record, they're only going to pay you 10 for 10 songs. So it is, you take the 9.5 cents rate times 10 is going to be 95 cents per record. That's all they're going to agree to pay. Okay, so initially it was 12.7, and now we're down to 9.5, and they'll only pay for 10. So for your whole record, they're going to pay you 95 cents for your records made and distributed and sold. Okay. Now there's a whole lot of other reductions that happen in the controlled composition clause as well that we're not going to get into. But again, it's the record company up to sneaky stuff, trying to get away with you guys agreeing to paying less and taking less and them getting more. All right. Let's move on real quick. I believe that we are now going to get to performance royalties. So let's talk about that real quick. All right. Now, real quick, you might ask, God, that was kind of complicated. Is there somebody that could watch over my mechanical royalties or even the record companies? And the answer is yes. The Harry Fox Agency, HFA, is an organization that you can sign up with. I think currently right now they'll collect your mechanical royalties for you, and they'll take a charge of 15% of the gross mechanicals. I would recommend doing it actually, because if you're in the situation where you do have that kind of income coming in, because Harry Fox Agency is known to actually audit the record companies, and you would never be able to afford to do that or have the time to do that. So that could be helpful for you. All right, let's move on to performance royalties now. This is the second type of income that you could get. Performance royalties are the royalties that you get when your music is publicly performed. So the main types of income that we know is when your music is publicly performed on the radio, when your music is publicly performed on television, when your music is publicly performed on the DSPs, like the digital service providers like Apple, etc., when it is on non-interactive radio as well, like web radio, like iHeartRadio and Sirius XM. When your music is played at a shopping mall, these are what's called general licenses. When your music is played in an elevator, when your music is played, when you're calling somebody and on music on hold, right? When you're in an airplane and there's music and you might be thinking like, God, I can't do this all myself. Like, I wouldn't know how to license this stuff to like all of these various users and collect it and make sure that nobody's using it, without me knowing. Isn't there somebody that can do this for me? And the answer is yes, and it's the PROs, Performing Rights Organizations. In the United States, we have several, but the main 3 are ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. And even CSAC is kind of a little bit more exclusive. They're a little bit more picky with who they take. So really the main 2 are ASCAP and BMI. And they're a little bit different, but they all share in one principle: to protect the performing rights of authors and owners of songs just like you guys. Okay, so all of them are here to protect us and to try to collect our money for us and try to do the best job that they possibly can. Because you can't do it yourself, right? So we have to go with one or the other. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how this works. So you affiliate with ASCAP or join ASCAP or BMI. You pay a fee and you give them the rights to represent your entire catalog. Okay? Now, what they do is they take their entire catalog, which includes your songs, which also includes all of the big stars' songs today, and it goes to song users and said, hey, you guys can use all of our songs in this catalog, in our catalog, for a blanket fee. Right? And all of the blanket fees to all the different users are different, right? A restaurant's going to be different than a radio station, that's going to be different than a television station, etc. But nonetheless, they negotiate on your behalf. That license is paid to them, and then all of that money is thrown into a pool. Then what the PROs do is they monitor, right? In all kinds of crazy ways, they monitor to the best of their ability, the radio stations, television, etc., internet sites, to try to figure out what part of that money in the pool goes to you, okay? So then they'll say, hey, Coach, me gets this amount, SZA gets this amount, Kendrick Lamar gets this amount. And of course, in many instances, the big stars are going to get picked up on the surveys more than I am. And therefore, they're going to get obviously paid sooner and more often and way more money, of course, than me. So noted, it's very possible that I don't even get paid anything because they don't find me. They don't discover me because I'm not getting played enough. So it's very possible that you are played on the radio or you are played in other areas, but it just doesn't get picked up. It's not a perfect system, but again, it's better than you trying to do it yourself, right? Okay, couple other things that we need to talk about really quickly here. When you sign up for the PROs, right, you might ask, how do you go about doing that? Well, typically speaking, ASCAP and BMI have representatives that you can speak with and you can call. I mean, first you want to go to the website and you want to read all the different information. You want to see who gives you the best vibe, like what website is easier to read. Talk to some of your friends and see who they're with, ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC. And I personally went down in New York City. I met with a person named Jonathan Love at ASCAP, and he was really cool, and he kind of made me feel that he was going to take care of me. So I went with ASCAP. Other people like BMI. But what you should do is should try to find the basic differences between the two PROs. Maybe make a little chart. I've got one in my book, Introduction to Music Publishing. You can check out. It's on Amazon. It's a new book. It just came out literally a week ago. But ultimately, you want to sign up or affiliate with one of those performing rights organizations. And then what you need to do is title register all your songs. And you need to indicate the percentage shares, who are the different owners in that song. If it's just you, it's just you. But you have to you have to put things like the ISRC codes for the songs. You have to put the codes for the albums. And you kind of have to let them know like what's out there, right? So that's called title registration. And by the way, that has nothing to do with copyright registration. So you have to do this, okay? You also have to make sure that you register as both the writer and the publisher of the song. So don't forget, you are the writer and you are also the publisher, and the two registrations have to match. So if I write a song called Heaven and Hell, I have to register 50% as the writer, and then I have to register 50% or the other part of the song as the publisher, okay? So no, you can't be ASCAP as the writer and BMI as the publisher. You can't cross like that. It's got to be matching registrations. Okay, so for homework, this is what I suggest you guys do. I just gave you guys an overview, but here's what I suggest you guys do. Go to the PROs, ASCAP and BMI, and just kind of look at both their sites and see which one you feel most comfortable with. Feel free to leave questions in the chat or leave questions underneath the video, and I'll get back to you, I promise. But that's pretty much it, you guys. I do these really almost every day, really, to be honest with you, so around this time. So, be sure to subscribe so that it will tell you, when I'm on. My name is Bobby Borg, helping musicians turn their art into a more successful business. Peace, love, and see you guys later. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining in, by the way.